Unfortunately, the clock is ticking, the hours are going by. The past increases, the future recedes, possibilities decreasing, regrets mounting. Hey guys, and today I'm gonna give you a demonstration speech on how to read the time on a mechanical clock. Now, when I was younger, I actually learned how to read the time on a mechanical clock first. And for those of you guys who don't know, a mechanical clock is a clock that uses arrows to tell the time. And mechanical clocks are all around us, either in subways, train stations, offices, schools, and even our own homes. And they were around for a very long time. And I understand that most of you guys already know how to read the time on a mechanical clock. But believe it or not, there are some people out there that still struggle with it. And today, I will share with you some of the history of the clocks, how they came to be, and I will tell you why do we need to know how to read the time on a mechanical clock. And last but not least, I will demonstrate the clock itself. I will explain what each of the arrows mean, and I'll give you a few examples how to read the time. So, in order to understand the mechanical clock better, I will first talk about its history, who made the first mechanical clock, and how they advanced through time. And as all of you guys know, a clock is an instrument that is used to keep track of time. And there are many types of clocks that are considered to be mechanical, because mechanical basically means that there is no use of electricity. And there are some clocks that have been invented way back, like thousands of years ago, which use sun and water to tell the time. But that is out of our topic today, because we will mainly focus on mechanical clocks that use clockwork mechanism with arrows on them. And we will also talk about how to tell the time by looking at them. And the first mechanical clock was invented in 17th century, in 1659 to be more exact, by Christian Huygens. And it was called a pendulum clock. And it was actually a really big deal at the time. It was like a technological breakthrough, and it was the first real clock which has been operated by a number of gears that rotate in a sequence. And when gears rotate, the arrows move, and when a second arrow moves, it makes like a tick, which is actually called a beat. And because of those gears, all the arrows move in the time interval that they do. Back then, those mechanical clocks were actually a luxury. They were really expensive because of how difficult they were to build and repair, and only kings and queens and princes had it because of how expensive it was, and no one could afford them except for nobles. So now, as I told you a little bit of history about clocks and how they work, let's talk about why would you actually need to know how to read the time on a mechanical clock. And of course, many of you will say, like, I know how to read time on a mechanical clock, it's really, really simple. Yes it is, yes it is. As I said before, there are still some people out there that cannot read the time on a mechanical clock. And as the years pass by, we find ourselves mainly using electronic clocks, digital clocks. Me, for example, I just use my phone because it's always on me, and I don't even have any clocks in my room. But we do, however, have one mechanical clock in our house, which is in the living room, but it's no use to us anymore because none of us really look at it. So it became like a part of decoration. And mechanical clocks are slowly fading away from our world. And I think it's important to not forget the history. So, just to give an example, imagine yourself walking in downtown London and without your phone, and you really need to know what time it is right now. And there's a Big Ben Tower like right next to you. For those of you who don't know, a Big Ben Tower is a clock tower which is about 100 meters high, and it has a really big clock on top of it. It's a mechanical clock which uses arrows, and you really need to know the time, but you can't tell because you don't know how to tell the time on a mechanical clock. So just looking at it and getting mad at yourself. So now that we have talked about clocks, history, and what would you need to know how to tell the time on a mechanical clock, let's talk about what each of the arrows mean, and I will explain and give a plenty of examples on how to actually tell the time. It's probably one of the easiest topics in the world, how to tell the time on a mechanical clock, and but it's very important, and the future generations may not even know what the heck is in a mechanical clock. Probably all of you know that a mechanical clock looks like a disc with arrows on it, and a mechanical clock usually has three arrows, which is an hour arrow, a minute arrow, and the second arrow. An hour arrow being usually short, a minute arrow being usually long, and a second arrow right here, which is ticking right now, is usually long and thin. Mechanical clocks also have numbers on them, 1 through 12, and it's either in Arabic numerals or in Roman numerals. And in this case right here, I have a clock in Roman numerals. The numbers on the clock for each one of the arrows mean different things. For a second arrow, it means seconds. For a minute arrow, it means minutes. And for an hour arrow, it means hours. And for a second arrow, the whole clock, which is consisting of 12 numbers, is divided into 60 seconds. For a minute arrow, the clock is divided into 60 minutes, and for an hour arrow, the clock is divided into 12 hours. Now, let's talk about each of the arrows. Let's talk about the second arrow first. And the second arrow counts seconds, and when it does a full circle on a disc, that means it passed 60 seconds, or in other words, 1 minute. And now let's talk about a minute arrow. So a minute arrow, when it passes a full circle on the clock disc, it means that it passed 60 minutes, or 1 hour. And an hour arrow, when it passed the full circle on the clock disk, it means it passed 12 hours. So, and just in case if you did not understand my explanation well enough, which I totally understand because I'm not good at explaining things, I'll show you a few examples. So right now, an hour arrow is between 10 and 11, and a minute arrow looks like it's on 8. So the time right now would be 10 hours and 40 minutes. I'll just give a few more examples. As you can see, the hour arrow right now is between 8 and 9, and the minute arrow is on 6. So that will give me a time of 8 hours and 30 minutes. I'll give one last example. So right now, as you can see, the hour arrow is approximately on 5, and a minute arrow is on 11. So that would give me the time of 4 hours and 55 minutes. So, to recap, today I've told you some facts about mechanical clocks. I've told you a little bit about its history. I told you why should we know how to read the time on them. And I gave you a demonstration with a few examples on how to actually read the time on a mechanical clock. I really hope that you learned something from my demonstration today and are absolutely comfortable with telling time on a mechanical clock. And us humans, we keep advancing our technologies as a civilization, and soon all those things that exist right now will not even be remembered or even mentioned in the future. And in my opinion, it's very important to know the history and how everything came to be. Because if you know the past, you have a much better idea of what is laying ahead. Thank you.